Hey guys, welcome to the Animation Movies Recapped. This is David with you. Today I am going to recap a 2008 American computer animated action adventure film called Bolt. I love the movie very much and hope you would like too. So, without any further ado, let's start with the recap. The movie begins in a pet store. All the puppies are seen following each other and moving in a pack, except for the white one, who's playing with a squeaky carrot toy. An 8-year-old girl named Penny comes into the store and buys the white puppy, giving it a collar with the name tag, Bolt. 5 years later, 13-year-old Penny and Bolt are in the park when Penny receives a phone call from her father, who turns out to be a television actor, pretending to be Penny's father. Her father tells her that someone is chasing him and he won't be home for a while. As he warns Penny not to go back to the house, the evil Dr. Calico sneaks up on him. Before he's interrupted, Penny's father tells her not to worry, and that Bolt will protect her. A clip montage plays showing that her father, who is a scientist, has genetically altered Bolt, giving him a variety of superpowers, as well as the distinctive black lightning mark on his flank. Back to the story, Penny uses a pair of enhanced binoculars to spy on one of Dr. Calico's associates, who is speaking to him via a hologram video. She sees that they've kidnapped her father and are torturing him to speak up about his research work. Dr. Calico says that he knows how to make Penny's father reveal his secrets and that they just need to get him a package first. Calico's associate then leaves the building, and Penny and Bolt follow at a distance. They follow him down an alleyway, but at one point he disappears, and then a car is seen racing toward them. Bolt runs toward the car and makes it fly in the air. The car lands upside down behind him upon impact. Bolt holds the car over the side of a bridge in order to make him tell them where Calico is. Being frightened, he then speaks that Calico is in Bolivia. However, by now, they've been found again. A group of helicopters and motorcycling bad guys, armed with electrified gloves, chase them. Using her helmet computer, she sees a flight about to leave for Bolivia, so they head toward the airport. She tells him to use the zoom trick, where he grabs onto a piece of rope and pulls her scooter at very super speed down the highway. One of the bad guys pulls out a bomb shaped like a frisbee and attaches it to a gas tanker driving next to a school bus. Penny tells Bolt to fetch, so he leaves her briefly and pulls the bomb off, leaving it on a bad guy's head. The bad guy freaks out and throws it upwards, accidentally destroying the last helicopter. And when he realizes what he's done, he face-bombs himself on the forehead with his electrified glove, which makes him crash into the highway. With all the bad guys dispatched, Penny and Bolt continue on to the airport. But before they get far, they are confronted with an army of Calico's forces, and it seems like they are about to get caught. Penny tells Bolt to speak. Bolt then with his super bark creates a supersonic boom that literally blows away the entire army. After Bolt has defeated the army, Penny picks him up and enters a trailer with Bolt's name on the side. After the door has closed, all the bad guys get up, the background lifts up, and people start clearing away the wreckage, revealing that the whole thing was actually part of a movie set for an adventurous action-packed television series called Bolt. Meanwhile, inside a studio, a group of staff members entered the editing room, where the director is going through the footage from the day's shooting. Everything is going fine until they get to one shot. It turns out that there's a boom microphone visible in the background. The director starts screaming at the crew that, if the dog could have seen that, they could never capture his natural expression. Actually, the dog, Bolt, has been raised in a way inside the studio that he has never been in the real world and thinks that he is really a super dog. In fact, he is not. Back in Bolt's trailer, Bolt is still freaking out because he thinks she's still in danger, so he just stands at the door and growls, in protection mode. Penny tries to distract him in many ways but fails. Just then, Penny's cell phone rings and she has to leave, locking Bolt inside the trailer. Outside the trailer, Penny's mother and her agent meet her. Penny asks her agent if she can take Bolt home for the weekend. The really annoying agent gives her a lot of roundabout talk and finally says no, because if Bolt goes off the set he will know the reality, and they can no longer capture his real expression. A little later, two of Dr. Calico's pet cats wander in. One of the cats is new, so the other cat tells him how Bolt believes it's all real, and they like to torment him by playing along. They jump on top of Bolt's trailer, open the sunroof and taunt him as they do regularly. The next day, back in the show, Penny and Bolt sneak into Dr. Calico's lair to try and rescue her father. This time we see how all the cameras are hidden and how they do some of the special effects. There's a camera underneath the truck that they sneak in on, and the bad guys that Bolt defeats are just throwing themselves backward onto stunt cushions. And the staffs do the work so perfectly that Bolt never figures it out. However, they sneak into the computer room, and Bolt knocks out the guard at the computer with a karate chop to the neck. Penny gets on the computer and tries to use it to find her father, but Dr. Calico and his cats interrupt. The whole thing was actually a trap. The computer chair turns into a capsule, trapping Penny inside, and she's lifted away as Bolt watches helplessly. He tries to run after her, but a staff member in protective gear grabs him and pulls him back, stuffing him into a cage. Penny demands to let her see him because he will be thinking she's in danger and doesn't understand that, in reality, she's okay. But the staff don't let her. Now that the take is over, Dr. Calico's cats decide to go torment Bolt some more. As they open up the sunroof, Bolt uses the staff member's head as a boost and jumps out of the trailer and runs into the studio. He desperately finds his friend, Penny. He tries to break the window with his super strength, but of course, it doesn't work, and he only ends up knocking himself out. He falls into one of the boxes and is packed up by a staff member and shipped out. He wakes up on the other side of the country in New York, where the boxes have been delivered. The guy unpacking the boxes sees one of them moving and opens it. Bolt jumps out and runs out onto the streets of New York. However, he sees what he thinks is the capsule containing Penny, which is actually a portable toilet with a symbol that looks like Calico's eye on it. He rushes toward the truck with heroism to knock it off, but thanks to the driver who brakes the vehicle in time, saving the dog. When Penny's not inside, he decides that they must have moved her, and now he doesn't know where to look. While he's in New York, Bolt tries to use his superpowers, but of course, they don't work. He falls in the middle of his super jumps, can't break through a fence with his super strength, and when he tries to knock out a man who looks like Calico from the back, he taps him on the shoulder like as usual, but nothing happens to the man. He assumes he must have been weakened somehow by Calico. Next, he meets a group of pigeons who think they've seen him somewhere before but can't remember where, even as two buses with giant ads for the Bolt TV show pass by. They see that some of the styrofoam peanuts are stuck to his fur. Bolt, who has never heard of styrofoam before, concludes that it must be some kind of evil substance that negates his superpowers. He thinks that he needs to find someone close to Dr. Calico. He tells them about a black cat that Dr. Calico keeps always with him. The pigeons seem to get an idea and tell him they know just where to find such a cat. We cut to Mittens, an alley cat who rules over the pigeons of New York. Every day they give her half of the food they find in exchange for her protection. The pigeons are tortured by him, and to fulfill their revenge brings Bolt to him. Bolt immediately tackles her and forces her to tell him the location where Penny is. Mittens has no idea what he's talking about. Bolt eventually holds her over a bridge and threatens to drop her into traffic unless she gives him what he wants. Mittens thinks he's crazy and finally lies that she'll help him to find Penny so that he won't drop her. She sees a Hollywood address on the back of his collar tag and tells him that's where Penny is. Bolt then finds a truck that two guys are loading a sofa into, and he sneaks in by hiding himself and Mittens underneath the sofa. Mittens obviously doesn't believe that Bolt has superpowers and just thinks he's crazy. Mittens notices a baseball bat in one of the boxes. Mittens is about to hit him with the bat, but it's too heavy for her, and she crashes into a stack of boxes, sending one of them down onto Bolt's head. It doesn't hurt him, but it's filled with styrofoam peanuts, and Bolt freaks out, jumping out of the moving truck and rolling down a hill. Mittens is dragged along behind him. Suddenly his stomach growls and he freaks out again, thinking that he is poisoned by the styrofoam peanuts. Since he was always fed regularly at the studio, he's never really been hungry before. Mittens is surprised that he doesn't know what it's like to be hungry, although Bolt still thinks she's poisoned him and demands the antidote. Mittens says that the antidote is food, so they find an RV rest stop where many RVs are parked, with families picnicking and grilling burgers. Mittens teaches Bolt how to beg so that when the families look out of their RVs and see him, they throw food for the cute doggy. Mittens tries it too, but she gets a pan thrown at her when she does it. One of the RVs is owned by a little old lady who has a bunch of pet hamsters. Most of them are in cages, but one of them is out in an exercise ball, leaning on the remote and flipping through the channels on the TV. When the old lady leaves to get some food for Bolt, the hamster recognizes him and rolls out of the trailer to follow them. The hamster introduces himself as Rhino and is totally excited to be meeting Bolt, whom he says is his hero. Mittens is astonished that he actually knows of Bolt, and even more astonished when Bolt says that Rhino can come along with them. Not only because Rhino is an overly excited idiot, but because she can't believe they want to leave the RV park. She thinks they should stay because new RVs will be coming through all the time, and they'll have a good place to sleep and a steady supply of food. She doesn't understand why Bolt is so hung up on saving Penny. Bolt says that Penny is his person, and Mittens just scoffs at the idea. Back in Hollywood, Penny is distraught over Bolt's disappearance. However, Penny's agent comes in and says he has good news. Penny thinks they've found Bolt, but it's really just that she's gotten a spot as the lead guest on The Tonight Show. Penny doesn't care and doesn't want to go on the show, much to her agent's horror. Meanwhile, Bolt and Rhino decide that they will hop on a train by jumping on it as it passes underneath a bridge, which makes Mittens tremble in fear because she knows very well that they're all going to be killed. She tries her utmost to stop him but fails. Bolt jumps down holding them three, which brings terrible consequences to them. Luckily, they somehow manage to escape from getting smashed. They make their way to a suburb, where Mittens climbs a tree. Bolt calmly tells her to get down, but when she doesn't listen to him, he is angry and thinks to blow her away with a super bark. Bolt releases a massive super bark but is utterly surprised because nothing happens to her. Bolt was confused. He repeatedly tries, as Mittens makes sarcastic remarks from the tree branch above. Suddenly, Mittens saw a truck coming, and she tells Bolt to shut up. Bolt keeps barking, and the truck sees them. It's animal control, and they grab Bolt and Mittens. Rhino somehow manages to escape from their gaze and survived. Cut to the studio. Penny's agent comes in saying they've found Bolt. Penny is excited at first, but when they bring out the new dog, she realizes that the new dog isn't Bolt. It's a trained acting dog that just looks like him. At first, she refuses to work with the new dog. But when she is told that if she doesn't start working, many of the innocent people are going to lose their job and their kids may die starving, she agrees to work with the new dog. In the truck, Bolt and Mittens are separated and put in cages next to each other. Bolt makes numerous attempts to escape, including staring at the lock and trying to melt it with his laser eyes. Since none of his powers work, he deduces that the truck must be made of styrofoam. He ignores Mittens when she tries again to tell him that he doesn't really have superpowers and that even his lightning bolt mark isn't real, it's just makeup. However, Bolt refuses to give up and keeps trying to bash his way outside with his head. Meanwhile, Rhino figures out how to open his ball from the inside, and he sets off after them. He jumps on when the truck stops for gas, and as Bolt continues trying to bash his way out, he starts pulling at the lock. He finally gets it free just as Bolt runs at the door again, and it breaks open, tossing both him and Rhino out into a nearby field. Bolt is ecstatic at this proof that his powers really do work until he notices Rhino, who tells him that he opened the lock from the outside. Bolt suddenly realizes that Mittens was right all along, and he doesn't really have any powers. He runs his paw along his lightning bolt mark, and the makeup comes off on his paw. Dejected, he realizes he can't really do anything after all. Rhino, astonished at his hero's doubt in himself, makes a speech telling Bolt that he's a hero to all animals who think they can't do anything and that right now Mittens needs him to be a hero for her. After a little more convincing, Bolt decides that even though he's not really a superhero, he still has to do what he can for Mittens and Penny. Rhino is pleased that Bolt isn't giving up and goes to get his ball. Bolt and Rhino then follow the truck to the shelter to free Mittens. They sneak in and after facing many hurdles, make Mittens free. And causing a huge explosion, the three animals make their way outside amidst the flaming wreckage. Bolt still wants to go to California because he till now believes that Penny is in danger and he must save his person by any means. However, they use some highway vehicles to get to Hollywood, the place where Bolt believes Penny is held captive. After a long journey, by now, the animals reach Las Vegas and are having a really enjoyable time of their lives. However, at one point, Mittens disappears for a while, then comes back and says she wants to show Bolt something. She leads him to a pile of junk where she's set up some cardboard boxes, one for her and one for him. He even has a soft cushion that she stuffed with styrofoam, and he can let the box flaps down whenever he wants some privacy. Bolt is surprised that Mittens wants to stay, and Mittens is equally surprised that Bolt doesn't. Bolt still insists that he has to find Penny, so Mittens drags him out to where they can see a giant billboard advertising his TV show. She, showing him the picture of Penny, says that Penny doesn't really love him, she's just an actress doing her job. Bolt refuses to believe it, and Mittens gets angry, saying that humans don't really care about them. She gets angry enough that she reveals that she didn't leave her owners by choice, they just abandoned her one day, leaving her to fend for herself. Bolt feels sorry for her, but he says that Penny is not that type of person who would abandon him and still insists that he needs to get back home. Mittens says she's sorry she ever took pity on him, and Bolt leaves, not before wishing Mittens good luck. Meanwhile, Rhino finds Mittens and asks where Bolt went. Mittens doesn't have the heart to tell him what really happened, so instead, she tells him that Bolt said he needed to go fight the green-eyed man alone. Rhino starts to go after him because he believes that it doesn't fall under the ethics of friendship to leave a friend alone. Mittens also realizes that she mustn't abandon Bolt after all and goes with Rhino. Back to Bolt, he had finally reached Hollywood. He manages to get into the studio without being noticed and even gets on set and finds his trailer again. He's excited to see his home again and starts playing with his old squeaky carrot. Meanwhile, Mittens and Rhino have also reached Hollywood, and they also head towards the television studio to find Bolt. As they enter the studio, Rhino notices one of the actors who plays Dr. Calico's henchman, standing in costume outside the set. He rolls up and attempts to defeat him by pushing against his leg, The actor saw him and picks him up, cooing over what an adorable hamster he is. Cut to Bolt. He heard Penny's voice, and with the carrot in his mouth, he runs off. He can see her at the end of a hallway, calling his name but not looking at him, and he runs towards her, happy to finally have found his person again. As he is almost at the end of the hallway, the trained dog runs into view, leaping into Penny's arms. Penny laughs and says, "You're my good boy." Brokenhearted, Bolt slinks back into the shadows before Penny can see him, and turns and leaves, believing that Mittens was right when she said that Penny doesn't care about him. Just as he leaves, the trained dog jumps out of Penny's arms and runs to his trainer, who was his real master. The whole thing was just a rehearsal for an episode. Penny looks upset and hugs her mom, saying that she still misses Bolt. Up in the rafters, Mittens, who witnessed the whole thing, realizes that she was wrong about Penny. The TV crew sets up Dr. Calico's lair, attaching Penny onto a chest harness and making it look like she's tied up and hung from a rope. The set is dark and spooky, with lots of lit torches and fire effects. They start to film the scene. Penny's father is taken into the lair in the scene, where Dr. Calico thanks him in advance for revealing his secret scientific research to them. When he says he'll never give them his research, Dr. Calico shows him that he's captured Penny, and will kill her if he doesn't comply. Penny calls for Bolt and the trained dog smashes through the fake doorway, growling. When Dr. Calico calls for his henchmen, though, the dog gets scared of their electrified gloves and runs away, accidentally knocking over some of the torches. The set catches fire and all of the crew panics, running over each other in an attempt to evacuate. In the confusion, no one notices Penny, still hooked up, calling for help. On the other side, Bolt is sad and is leaving the studio. Luckily, Bolt hears Penny calling for help from the studio. He with his pals runs back, intent on saving her. Back in the television studio, the room is all smoky now, and there's debris everywhere from the ruined set, and she can't see where she's going. The animals rush back to the studio, where they find an open door. There's a piece of debris falling right in front of it. Rhino rolls his ball in just as it falls, propping it up and leaving just enough room for Bolt to slide in underneath. Mittens opens the ball and pulls Rhino out, just as the ball shatters under the weight, and the debris falls the rest of the way down, blocking the exit. Both Bolt and Penny run through the still flaming set until finally, they find each other. Penny can't believe it's really Bolt and is overjoyed that he really came back to her. They don't have much time to rejoice because the building is still on fire and Penny is weak from smoke inhalation. She grabs a piece of rope and tells Bolt to use the zoom trick. Bolt grabs onto the other end and uses it to guide her through the maze of wreckage. He finds an open vent that he can fit into that will take them outside. But Penny is too weak and collapses from smoke inhalation. She tells Bolt to run away, but he goes over and sits by her side, not willing to leave without her. However, he luckily gets an idea. He braces himself, gets into his super bark pose, and barks as loudly as he can into the vent. A fireman hears the bark from outside, coming from the vent. He makes everyone quiet, and they hear Bolt bark again, proving that they're still inside. The firemen rush in to rescue the two of them. Penny is put on a stretcher and loaded into an ambulance, although the emergency medical technician says that she'll probably be fine. But they're going to take her to the hospital just in case. Bolt is allowed to curl up next to her on the stretcher. Penny's agent weasels his way into the ambulance and starts worrying about how this will affect her career, so Penny's mom throws him out of the ambulance and tells him that they quit. However, the scene switches in a hospital bed. A girl sits with bandages all over her face. The doctors say that the damage was worse than they had expected, and they had to rebuild her entire face. As they peel off the bandages, it's a girl who sort of resembles Penny, with a similar haircut and green eyes, revealing that it's a new actress brought onto the show since the real Penny and her mother have quit the studio and moved on. The new girl looks in a mirror and says that at least Calico won't recognize her now, but one of the nurses picks up a syringe and lunges at her with it, turning out to be Dr. Calico in disguise who has snuck into the hospital to kill her. Suddenly, a blast of laser vision knocks the syringe from Calico's hand, just as Bolt, actually the trained acting dog, smashes through the hospital window. Bolt and the new girl escape and jump out the window, only to be caught in the tractor beam of a UFO. As a group of UFOs are shown zooming off into the night sky, Calico shakes his fist in anger at the aliens, knowing his plan to kill Penny and Bolt failed. The screen goes black, which was actually a TV screen Rhino has just turned off in disgust, calling it totally unrealistic. Rhino, Mittens, and Bolt have now moved in with Penny and her mom. Bolt is no longer a TV star and instead gets to be a real dog all the time. This is where the movie ends. Hope you all like this movie. See you soon with a new movie recap. Till then, stay happy and chill out.